sign checks afterwards.
That makes sense.
Division of the Sumsic Savings Bank. And so in this case, I would be serving as an investment advisor here. You guys had come to me asking questions around options for retirement plans for employees for the town. My understanding is you have a few different options, one of them being a state-sponsored plan. And then the other option, which is what I've brought with me here, is for you to privatize or go with an independent provider for a plan. In this case, municipalities, government entities, they have what's called a 457B plan, which is a lot like a 401k that you've probably heard before. It's a really common retirement plan, but specifically for municipalities, government entities, things like that. And what we're talking about here is a very small plan starting up with approximately around 4 employees. So the plan provider platform that I brought with me today is an organization that we've used for about 20 years called BPAS. They, in fact, also manage the retirement plan for Pasumsic Bank, if that gives you any idea of how much we entrust their platform and their customer service. There's a lot of information in here, followed by the very last page is a very boilerplate idea of pricing to create a plan. I'll go over some of the key features that I think make you have a plethora of different options for different providers. So I'll go over the things that I think make BPAS a little bit unique. So when you're creating a retirement plan, there are a couple of things you need to keep in mind. Record keeping. Oftentimes you'll have a retirement plan and then it's up to you to also find what's called a third-party administrator to make sure a IRS Form 5500 is filed every year. One of the nice things about BPAS is that is all in-house. So they do the annual audit, they file the Form 5500 for you every year. So it's very turnkey and you can be confident that you have a plan that your employees are participating in that is compliant. Some of the other unique features that BPAS offers, they really pride themselves on customer service. Their plan consultants typically have a high tenure rate, and the way that they work is they designate one plan consultant per plan. So you have one point of contact at BPAS, and that person quarterbacks along with me to be the point of communication for all of your employees, or for your HR person who's actually processing payroll when questions come up. It's not the call center experience is the idea. And then one of the other really unique features comes to how you utilize your money once you've accumulated it. So if you go with a state-sponsored plan, you would more than likely probably have access to a pension. You may also have additional access to what's called a defined benefit, or being able to pool money in and create a kind of lump sum to utilize once you retire. Pensions can be really great. They can also provide some disadvantage as well. The disadvantage to a pension is something that we call liquidity or access to cash. A lot of people who solely have pensions, acts much like Social Security. It's going to provide you monthly income, but if the house needs a new roof, there's no access to $20,000 to get that done. Versus something like a 401k plan where you have assets accumulated and you can gain access to them whenever you need them. So one of the really unique things about BPAS is what happens when you have a participant who is maybe 45, 50 years old, they're still in their working years, an emergency comes up and they need some cash. That's a real life situation that happens to a lot of people, right? Typically, when you take an early distribution from a retirement plan, it creates a taxable event. You pay an early withdrawal penalty unless there is some kind of terminal illness waiver or something like that that you qualify for. But if it's just a normal hardship, you're not going to qualify for those. you're gonna pay a 10% early withdrawal penalty to the IRS, plus you're gonna have to claim whatever you take out as income and pay income tax on it. So a really common thing that started happening probably 20 years ago is what's called a 401k loan. Actually taking a loan against your assets, because that's a non-taxable event. So you're borrowing from yourself to pay for the emergency that you may have without creating that taxable event. There was always a problem with those, and BPAS is one of the first organizations that has come up with a solution to that. So in those 401k loans, often when an employer leaves, or an employee leaves the employer, automatically they have to distribute funds out of the account to pay off the loan when they leave, and then a taxable event is created. So instead, these guys will allow you to carry that loan on even after you've left your employer, so that you don't trigger that taxable event. That's a pretty unique thing in this industry and makes BPAS pretty unique. Going through this, what specific questions do you all have for me?
So I haven't spent a lot of time on this document, obviously.
Oh, right.
But I'm looking at the fees. The fees look substantial for only 4 employees. So the base fee is $3,000 per year, every year the town has to pay?
Correct. So every 401k, 457, any of those types of things have a base fee. And so typically that fee is carried by the employer. I would have to look into whether it truly is 3,000 on this size of a relationship. This fee structure, I wouldn't put a ton of weight into. This is a boilerplate. This is the exact form they provide anyone who is looking at BPAS for a 401k, a 457, any of those types of plans. If this was something you wanted to explore, I'll get you specific pricing so you all can have a meeting discussing exactly what the costs associated would be.
There are quite a few other charges. So the plan document services, the restatements, including consultations, $750, subsequent plan amendments, $350.
Yeah.
Enrollment kits, first 10 at no charge. But then, annual record keeping fee, $60 per participant. That could be charged out. Either the employee, we as a town could do it, or the employees could pay.
So usually those record keeping fees are passed on to the employee. Is typically within a plan.
I haven't had that happen in my 401ks.
You probably are. Typically your base plan fee is being covered by the employer, and then a lot of your smaller fees are being absorbed by the employees of the plan. That said, they're also line iteming every fee possible. A lot of these are probably services you're not necessarily going to need or necessarily are going to care about. For instance, enrollment packets. The way I typically handle that is I meet with your employees. We use their web-based enrollment packet, which is free to use. Things like that to help keep costs down. I can't honestly tell you how the cost compares to participating in the state-sponsored plan. That would be homework that you would probably want to do before you made a decision.
And with this, is there a prescribed copay for the employer and the employee, or is that up to the employer to determine?
It's up to the employer to determine.
So like if we wanted 6% with a 3% match, we could do that or whatever.
Correct. So the only thing that has to happen is it has to be uniform across all of your employees. So you can't offer 6% match to one employee and a 3% match to the other, if that makes sense.
And are there various strategies for investment within the portfolio that employees can choose?
Great question, yes. So one of the reasons why we use BPAS specifically, and I'm glad you asked that. So historically with retirement plans, if you look at the underlying assets within them, about 95% of the retirement plans in the United States give employees access to only what are called target date mutual funds. What that essentially is a mutual fund that is designed based off of your date of birth. They're a very cookie cutter approach, so between 60 and 130 various stocks and bonds that would be appropriate for someone your age. So BPAS will give you access to all of those. They will also give you access to all of the portfolios that Selectman Financial Advisors designs for our clients. And the reason why that's important, target date funds are really good for the vast majority of people, but if you don't fit this kind of cookie cutter model, it may not be right for you, meaning maybe you have no intention of ever retiring. Maybe you plan to work into your mid-70s rather than retire at 65 to 67. Maybe you plan to retire at 55. So picking a target date fund based off of your date of birth with the assumption that you're going to retire at 65 to 67 could be considerably too conservative or too risky depending on your personalized situation and needs.
So my experience is that there might be recommendations targeted to my anticipated date of retirement, but within that I could pick high growth, low risk. I could pick social equity.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
within that.
Very similar, it sounds like, to maybe the plan you participate at with your employer. You'll have the what's called qualified default investment, which is something that every plan is required to have. You can't just start participating and not have any investment. So if you don't elect anything, it automatically moves to a target date fund. If you want to make elections, you have those options. And within those election models, you'll have an a la carte type of model like you're talking about, where, you know, if ESG, socially sustainable investing, is something that's important to you, or if you maybe are a little bit more savvy and you want to do some research on various exchange traded funds and pick those out on your own, you're able to do that. Or if you want to delegate that to us, I'll meet with all of your employees, I'll do a risk-based needs analysis with them and say, based on what you're telling me, portfolio A or portfolio B would best suit you for these reasons.
And is there a fee for that consultation?
No.
And if employees participate in the plan and another year or two they want another consultation, is there a fee at that point?
No. So we charge no fees for on-site consultations. It would be my goal that I would physically meet with your employees or be available to meet with your employees at least once annually. And part of that would also be teaching them how to navigate the BPAS website and portal, where they can go in and change those elections at any time. If they maybe are not tech savvy or they don't care to do that, they also always will have access to me and I can make those changes for them.
And then I know it depends on which portfolio and which investments you choose, but do you have typical rates of returns?
Yeah, so as we go down this road, if this is something that you choose you want to explore, I can bring in both examples of the portfolios that Selectman Financial Advisors builds, so that you can see the historical performance over the last 10, 15, 20 years of those. And then we can also look at the a la carte models and the target date fund models and look at, the 3-year, 5-year, 10-year return averages. They're going to run the gamut based off of how much risk we took, what percentage of that portfolio was in the stock market, what percentage was in the bond market.
Can you give me a range for from February or January to May or June?
So the reason why it would vary so much, pretend you were ultra conservative and you chose a portfolio that was 90% fixed income or into the bond market and maybe only 10% equities.
Right.
A portfolio like that may have only returned 2 or 3% over the last quarter. You could be someone who's maybe a little bit more aggressive and maybe 90 or 100% was in the stock market and you were almost completely outside of the bond market. and maybe you returned 15% over the last quarter, and everything in between. I can tell you, we have portfolios that very closely mimic the S&P 500. We have portfolios that have far exceeded them. The caution I would always give is sometimes if we're just chasing performance, it's really easy to all of a sudden take on excessive risk. Did I answer your question a little bit?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay.
I mean, you gave me a rough range.
Yeah,
So you don't have any like guaranteed minimum for.
so guaranteed does not happen in the stock market, as you're probably aware, right? So I can look to how things performed over the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and say, hey, this has yielded a return of 11% over the last 20 years, and now next year we have a recession and you lose 20%. If we want guarantees, we would really want to stay out of the stock market entirely and probably look at what is called fixed income or the bond market, where you're becoming a creditor to corporations and you're getting a guaranteed, set interest rate on those loans that you're giving them. However, over the last couple of years, the bond market has performed pretty poorly because of the interest rate environment that we're in. As interest rates have risen, those bonds that you owned 2 years ago that were at a lower interest rate, all of a sudden are not desirable when there are shiny new ones being issued at higher interest rates.
Probably all depends on how much you're putting out too, right?
To say that another way.
If you say you put $100 every pay period,
So regardless of the amount that the participant is investing, it's going to get invested the same way. So one of the nice advantages of being a participant in a retirement plan like this is you are buying what are called fractional shares. And so if you were just purely buying stock, let's look at Apple stock, for example. Apple stock is well over $1,000 for a single share. If you were contributing $100 a month, are we going to wait a year before we buy you one share of an investment? So instead what happens is we're buying for you a pooled investment that may be fractions of hundreds of different stocks, and every penny you go in can buy odd numbers of shares within that. That way, every dollar you put in is immediately working for you. Did I kind of answer your question there? Okay. Other questions?
What happens if there's only one employee that wants to participate?
Yeah, so I talked to BPAS about that, and so I think one of the things that are unique to them, they do not have a minimum participant size, whereas a lot of retirement plans are going to be looking for larger plans or quote unquote guaranteed assets coming in the door. I think at that point, you would probably need to take a really hard look at whether it makes financial and fiscal sense for you guys to be paying these plan fees to give one participant access to the plan. That would be my only concern. I'm sure BPAS would be glad to collect the fee and manage one participant for you,
Have you done an analysis of your rate of return for various portfolios against other major investment
Oh
companies?
yeah, absolutely. So if we're talking about some 6 financial advisors portfolios specifically, so we use a third-party tool that, if anyone is a little bit investment savvy, they've probably heard of, called Morningstar. Several of you can gain access to it. And so part of our process is constantly comparing our portfolio's performance compared to peers. That isn't purely just down to performance though. It's really easy to, again, so say we're comparing to the S&P 500 and the S&P 500 yielded 11% last year. It's really great if I can say, yeah, but we made 18%, so we outperformed. How did we make 18%? Were we rather than being in 500 of the largest corporations in the United States where we investing in speculative stocks that could have gone one direction or the other. So the metrics we're looking at are, what was the performance like? What was the risk associated with gaining that performance like? But yeah, a couple of our portfolios that come to mind, we have one that is called the Alpha 2, which is a little bit more of an aggressive portfolio. And if we look at the last 10-year, the 10-year on that has yielded nearly 20%. If we look at what we call our blended portfolio, which is a little bit more conservative, probably a lot more like an S&P 500 index, that one has been about 12%, if I recall, for the 10-year. The reason why I also don't focus a lot on 1-year return averages, because I just plain think that that's far too small of a sample size to really care about. That old adage that a blind squirrel can find a nut, maybe we just got lucky guessing. I think if we're looking to figure out what's going to work well for a retirement plan, we really want to look at how things have performed over the last 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That's the data that's really important.
How many municipalities do you guys have these plans with?
Oh, I'm trying to think of several. So let me back up and say we service plans, we service accounts for several municipalities, specifically
In New Hampshire?
in both New Hampshire and Vermont. So we don't necessarily have a ton of 4, 5, 7 plans like this where we're looking at a small participant pool this size, but we have several well-established plans, and even more than that, we manage a lot of town accounts, a lot of scholarship accounts.
Town accounts is in like bank accounts or?
Yeah, so lots of towns, what seems to happen, a prominent family passes away and they want to leave a town a pool of assets. So oftentimes those are in trust and we'll manage those trusts for the town. Oftentimes the family that donates the money has rules around how much money can be dispersed annually, maybe rules around how the money can be invested, meaning they need to be income-driven investments and the only distributions can be income, not actual principal. So we manage a lot of that type of stuff for towns as well.
Okay, but how many towns do you do like the 457 retirement plan for?
Probably a half dozen or so if I had to guess between Vermont and New Hampshire.
That's a small number.
Yeah, definitely considerably more so. We manage, large town assets that are, paying for a rec center annually or paying for a scholarship fund annually. We do a lot of that type of work with towns.
Which is different than the retirement.
Definitely.
And I wonder if the reason that you have so few, and that's Vermont and New Hampshire, is like in New Hampshire, the surrounding towns all use the state retirement program.
Correct. I think, again, I'm not an expert on the town retirement or the state retirement plan, but I have a feeling that probably, especially from a cost perspective, a lot of towns have opted to go that direction. I think this is a viable option that provides a little bit different tool. In one situation, like I said, you have a pension. In the other situation, you have a pool of assets that now the participant can draw off of on a needs base.
Do you have questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm done, thank you.
I don't think I have any right now.
Excellent. I thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, let me know if you have follow-up questions, if you want me to explore pricing for you. If you want data on some of our actual portfolio models, happy to provide any of that follow-up information for you. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everybody.
Yeah, you too.
Anyone want the comfy chair?
Now, is that the episode?
Matt, I thought that was you. Are you wanting to say something about the work that Eversource is doing? I didn't know you were coming today.
I didn't realize this would be described.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, they're signing checks. Did anyone not get a chance to sign in? to cemetery deeds. Pistol permit.
What do you do whenever your dogs disappear in the night?
I don't know if you want to see it.
And the last thing I need you guys to sign is the confirmation that we will be using the PA 28 form for the 2025 tax year.
Is there, if we use this, is there more than one different form to be used?
No, either you use a PA 28 form or you do not.
I make a motion that we continue using the PS 28 form for tax year 2025.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye, Joe Bennett.
Eric, can you sign at the bottom where it says assessing official? You put your contact information where the assessor's name goes. Thank you. That's all I have to sign.
Do you have the minutes?
From Wednesday, May 29th.
Already saw it.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 29th.
Not signing them.
I'll second too, so you can discuss it, but
So you have revisions or changes that you want? Is that what you're?
there's a lot that needs to be changed.
Okay, well,
And then we don't have time to go over it to here, but
if it's gonna be discussed, it needs to be discussed in a meeting, so now's as good a time as any.
well, it'll be until 10 o'clock then.
Can I have those minutes so I can mark them up, please? Thank you.
The amended proposal that Eric brought forth,
Are we on the last page? What page are we on?
third page.
I'm sorry, third page?
Yeah.
Which paragraph?
The Eric presented amended proposal.
All right.
You moved saying there's no discussion, which I have half a page of discussion from Quebec.
There was no discussion prior to the motion to vote. The discussion happened after the motion to vote, when you guys motioned to vote and then the other person voted.
It's part of the minutes. There's false accusations here about
If I may, read what it says so that it's clear. Eric presented an amended proposed protocol, safety procedure, and liability for the town of Dalton and immediately made a motion to accept the document. Tom immediately seconded the motion, and Eric moved to vote with no discussion. Jo Beth objected. She noted that neither she nor Jeanette, on and on and on. The discussion happened after the motion. And that's what the minutes state.
That's not what it is. What Jo Beth had to say, first, she made statements first, and then we went, then the motion happened.
No,
No,
that's
Well,
not how it
I
happened.
got it written down.
I got it on
we have it
video.
on video.
Anyways, I'm not approving them. I'm not gonna fight over this tonight.
So what else is inaccurate in the minutes? You said that there were a
We'll
lot
go
of
over it,
things.
we'll go over it later. I'm not gonna get into this, it's too much.
Well, we need to do it during a meeting. So,
How do you wanna handle it? I'm not sure what the,
I mean, we can't discuss it outside of a public meeting
I know
because
that.
it's town business. Were there other inaccuracies you'd like to discuss, and we can come back to this one?
There's a couple of them that are missing.
Okay, what's missing?
The peanut gallery.
My comment about the peanut gallery? I can add that in there, sure.
On that minutes, the way it reads, it sounds like Tom and I cooperated about that.
That was the feeling.
That's exactly how we felt.
It was 6 weeks ago. I
you can
proposed
feel it, but you can't say it if you don't know it.
Well, we didn't say it. That's why we didn't say it, because we don't speak our feelings, we speak the facts.
It's right here, this is not a fact.
So I added to the minutes, Eric, Jeanette made a comment about Tom and Eric looking to the peanut gallery for guidance. Is that sufficient? Okay. What else?
Putting down that it appeared that we had looked at this together and corroborated is a false accusation and causing the public to think that we're doing shady crap, that we're not.
So
It's all
are
about the
you,
word.
are you in the same paragraph, Tom?
It's above it, above what Eric was talking about. It's right after, still in the first paragraph.
Is it in the paragraph that started Eric presented an amendment?
Yeah. It's down,
Which line?
fourth line down, third and fourth.
She noted that neither she nor Jeanette had an opportunity to review this document, although it appeared that both Eric and Tom had seen it prior to the meeting.
Mhm.
Okay,
And that,
so you want to strike, although it appeared that both Eric and Tom had seen it prior to the meeting? Because she did say that neither she nor I had seen the
we
document.
all saw it.
We
1
hadn't
month
seen the
ago.
revised document,
We all saw
The only thing that was
A month
revised
ago.
on it was the keys.
over.
and there was no discussion about it.
But how did I know what was revised without having a chance to review it? And you moved immediately to vote, which seemed to me, from this, that you had both seen it and discussed it.
Well,
That's what it
You got a right to
appearance
think,
was.
you can think that if you want.
So is that the part,
The revised part, he took the keys off.
How do I know that? When
You
were
had the
showing-
paper right in front of you.
yeah, but
But I hadn't had time to read it.
Why are you getting upset with me? I'm just talking.
Did you read it ahead of time?
No,
I mean, because you usually take a lot of time to read through things,
Yeah.
so how could,
I read it that night. I read what was over there a month ago. And plus I read it again tonight.
that
Then I
night,
go-
that
No,
quick-
tonight before we came here.
that document?
Yeah.
But that, both the time the original version was presented and the time that the amended version was presented at the last meeting, it was presented, handed to the three of us, and the two of you immediately wanted to vote to approve it, and I hadn't even had time to read it, and I'm a pretty fast reader. So I don't know how that could happen if you hadn't seen it prior to the meeting without knowing what the revisions were.
so
Can I back up? I really would like to just make some comments. I have some important things to discuss with the board. These are just my perspective. Regarding both the original proposed protocols regarding safety and liability for the town of Dalton and the amended version presented May 29th. Both times this document was presented to the select board, there was an effort to, you're going to object to my term, but the way it felt to me here on the board was to ramrod these documents through with no discussion without even allowing Jeanette and I time to read and review them. It appeared that both Tom and Eric had seen both versions before the select board meeting and agreed to act on them. And that's because there was no time for us to even read through it.
and
So
there's
how
no
could you,
discussion.
how could you act on it without even having time to read through it and discuss? So that's the appearance. If that didn't happen,
That didn't happen.
well, that's the appearance. And that's inappropriate because that would violate the right to know law. You know, select board members can't discuss documents outside of a public meeting. You know, it's okay to share a draft document with all the members of the select board prior to a meeting without discussion. Items presented for vote by the select board deserve discussion and deliberation in the select board meeting, and the intent was to just immediately move to a vote without discussion, if I hadn't objected. And my feeling is that it was disrespectful to me and to Jeanette because we had not had time to review the document, and by not promoting the engagement of a productive discussion about policies and protocols. Regarding this document, the items listed on the document are separate items and should be considered separately. Each item should be considered in conjunction with current town policies and procedures. The correct approach is to review and possibly amend current town policies if appropriate. If necessary, new policies and procedures may be drafted and considered. For policies, procedures that impact the highway department or fire EMS, the appropriate supervisor should always be involved in developing and discussing the policies and procedures. So that would be Adam as the road agent and Ron as the fire chief. And just a reminder, per RSA 154, the fire chief, not the select board, is responsible for fire EMS equipment maintenance. It's good practice for a select board to review each policy procedure in a meeting and discuss it, talk about revisions, and then come back in a subsequent meeting to make a decision. That's how we've done it in the past 5 years. We've not immediately acted on policy and procedures. I've got another issue. This is a second issue regarding personnel. The current select board procedures, which were adopted in 2019, contain language concerning the conduct of town business and interaction with town staff. One of the provisions states, the board, when dealing with the town staff, shall never as individuals publicly criticize an employee, Concerns of employee performance shall be handled at the board level, usually in non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A:3. On May 30th of this year, I received a copy of a letter sent to Eric from a resident stating, quote, I am aware from our phone conversation there may be communication issues between Jeanette Sharon and the board, end quote. To make such a statement publicly to a resident is inappropriate, unprofessional, and goes against the select board rules of procedure. A better way of handling that would have been for Eric to decline discussion of this town issue outside of a select board meeting and or to refer the resident to our tax collector for the information requested and a status update. Select board members have a responsibility in the communication with town employees and especially the town administrator. It's not just a one-way responsibility. If a select board member has a question, she or he may pick up the phone and call Jeanette or someone. Third, this is my third issue, regarding personnel. I've heard a rumor circulating that town employees are stealing from the town. This is a serious accusation. If there is a complaint regarding any town employee, it must be presented to the select board in writing. The select board cannot deal with general, non-specific accusations. I ask all of you here tonight to refrain from any disparaging remarks about our town employees and officials. If you have a complaint, it must be put before the board in writing. Rumors disparage the town and its hardworking employees and elected officials. To my fellow select board members, I ask that you handle any such accusations or rumors by requesting that the allegation be put in writing so that the select board can evaluate it and determine if any action is warranted. Under no circumstances should a select board member engage in discussions of accusations or rumors. Just a reminder to our residents and to the current select board members. I think it was over 10 years ago, an unfounded allegation of theft by a town employee resulted in the town paying out a substantial court settlement. Vic, you might remember the details of this incident, as I understand you were on the select board at that time.
20 grand.
Excuse me?
20 grand we had to pay out.
Yeah.
Town didn't pay it, insurance did. If I
Excuse
was
me?
on the board and it happened again, we'll do it again.
I'm
End
sorry.
of story.
Personally, I don't want to see something like that happen again to our town. Accusations are serious. And just in summary, we've already talked about the risk to the town if two board members are communicating board business outside of public meetings in violation of RSA 91A:3. And the thing that's important to remember is that failure to recognize and follow existing policies and procedures puts the town at significant risk. In case of a lawsuit, Primex will not cover the town if the policies and procedures are not followed. I believe that it's the responsibility of each select board member to come to each meeting prepared to listen and engage in productive dialogue, to research issues before the meeting, and to follow through with commitments. Each select board was elected as an individual to represent all of the residents of the town of Dalton, not just their individual constituents or the people who helped them get elected. And I'm sorry to have to bring that all up, but I feel like it's important if we're going to move forward in a productive way.
Other than, I agree with you. There shouldn't be any false accusations, period. We should be talking about nobody. And when you're doing the minutes, they need to be facts, not what you thought.
When I read the minutes,
What was being said here?
So again, I ask about
That's an
striking that
accusation.
part of the sentence.
I know, I'm just correcting something here. If we're not gonna throw accusations, then let's don't do it. Let's put it down as it is.
Well, when I read the minutes that were drafted,
See,
it looked like it was what happened.
okay.
Okay, that's my recollection of the meeting.
So are you asking me to strike the portion of the sentence, although it appeared that both Eric and Tom had seen it prior to the meeting?
Yes.
I've stricken it. What are the other modifications?
There's no discussion. There was discussion. Probably not the discussion that you wanted to have, but there was discussion.
Tom, you have to read the full sentence. It says that you guys attempted to vote with no discussion, and then it says that she started discussing it. So you have to read the whole sentence. It was you guys attempted to vote with no discussion.
Prior to discussion, perhaps.
And that's
What
why
they
she
say.
objected, which is how it is stated.
When I came up, Joe Bethel right in, so we have policies on
Can you
Oh.
tell me where you are in the meeting minutes?
that's,
Are you done?
no, that's for the Eric's part. You said the part where Eric made the motion.
Eric presented and immediately made a motion to accept the document. Tom immediately seconded the motion, and Eric moved to vote with no discussion.
That happened, this happened before that, but before the motion was made. As soon as he passed the paper out,
That's what it says. That's exactly what it says.
you don't let me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
After, when Eric passed the papers out for everybody to look at, Joe Bethel read into, we have policies on this, and I think we need to do this in conjunction with our policies that we already have in place, and if we're talking about procedures that deal with the highway department and the fire department, we need to have the department managers involved in the discussions. I don't think it is appropriate for the select board to do it independently. That's when Eric made the motion after that statement there. Then it went on.
That's not my recollection of the meeting.
That's exactly, that's a quote from you.
I have that after he motioned. She noted that each of these items should be discussed independently and in conjunction with the town policies and procedures. That came after you guys gave out the papers and immediately went to vote on it. That's when she objected and started to say those things. It didn't happen before you guys motioned. It happened after.
What I just read, no.
That's exactly how I had it written down. I wouldn't have written it down backwards.
I'm sorry. That's why I record so I can remember things, and I sat down and I went over it piece by piece. I'm not trying to,
Well, maybe we should pull up the video. Because what you just said is exactly what I have here after you guys tried to vote on it. Because she objected. It was a motion to vote, a second to vote, an aye, and a no, wait a minute, I object, and then she went into her conversation. She went into what she said. And then I added to it.
I don't want to be here, I'll make a list, it doesn't matter.
Is there additional information that needs to be modified? Or is it just that paragraph?
I'm gonna table this till next meeting, so I can just, I can organize this a little bit better.
I could probably just pull up the data.
I want to table it. I make a motion to table it.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Non-public, 1 and 2 from May 29th.
I make a motion that we approve the non-public meeting minutes for non-public session number 1 and 2 from May 29th.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I, Joe Bell.
Under the broadband?
Kathy, broadband?
There's no update because there's not gonna be a meeting until June 20th.
Okay.
At that time, any questions that people have raised with me, I'll be asking for answers.
Now, the building committee,
Boiler room doors in place, it just needs to be finished with the threshold, painting. Item number 2 has not been done yet. Item number 3, the bathrooms, they were primed and painted this weekend. Toilet partitions are done in the men's bathroom.
you said primed and painted?
Yes. Toilet partitions were installed in the men's bathroom. The women's bathroom will be done when he comes back to do them this week, I'm assuming. And then the toilets will be installed.
The Dalton.
How do they look with the painting?
How do they look?
How do they look?
I think it looks great.
The Dalton picnic area? You heard back from her?
apparently she's not getting my email, so I received a message from her this afternoon that she wants me to mail it to her, so I've emailed it to her twice at her email address. So I'll mail that out.
The Giants Train Station revised?
Nothing.
No. Selectboard rules of procedure.
That's the document I sent out in March, but it's not ever been discussed.
I had, when I first came on, I asked for the original.
I don't have an original, I have the one that's current.
It was the people that were here prior to us. It should be one on record.
That's the one that I sent you.
That was
Okay.
from 2019.
Yes, the one that's currently in place is the one that I sent you last year and this year.
Solid waste tip-in fees.
Still no response from Casella or Turnkey. Did you guys see the article that I sent?
Yeah.
Regarding the tipping fees? Because our current fee is less than what most are paying in the Northeast. I just wanted to make note of that. I think by almost $8 or $10.
Then the Casella meeting.
That's next
Next week.
Monday here
Yeah.
at 6:30.
Is it on the website?
Yes, it is.
Usage public hearing.
The Army Corps of Engineers public hearing on the proposed Granite State landfill.
That's
That hearing will be here in the gymnasium on Wednesday, June 26th at 5 p.m. It is also on the website.
And for preparation for that, are we doing the sound system and been setting up?
They will let me know what they need. She wasn't sure if they were going to bring a sound system or if they wanted to use ours. So I'll touch base with her and make sure everything is set up as they need it prior to
And the chairs?
all the chairs and yeah.
What
Yep.
about audio visual? Like, do they need PowerPoint or anything?
She'll let me know.
Okay. And then, of course, they'll have to have something on their computer or.
Yep.
Because they don't have internet.
Yep.
Type it in on their computer.
Yep.
Is there any need for security of that?
I would hope not. I mean, I don't know. It's the Army Corps. I don't know.
a tough one to just call.
I mean, Ron will be here because we expect to be over capacity of 50 people, so there will be volunteer firemen here. If there's a problem, we call 911.
There's a permit on the gym that covers it.
Yep.
So, we're good.
And he signed their application for use of property as necessary for a large group.
The Twin Steel Rail project,
I have not gotten any other updates from that, aside from what I shared with you guys last week. Last
So
meeting.
these people, did they already buy the railroad system?
Yeah.
They did,
It sounds like it from the email that we got, but I don't know.
and they're trying, and for them to, my understanding of reading it, they want to use part of the tracks here and there to park boxes and propane tanks, correct?
That's my understanding.
So, if they're out of Vermont, is that correct?
I think the line was sold to Vermont.
Yeah, whatever was, I don't remember what was in the
Well, they would have to,
article, but
they have to get our permission to come through here to park here,
Why would they have to do that?
I'm asking.
no, they already own it.
If they own it, then
Just what I wanted, ticking time bomb by my house.
So my My question is, as they're doing all the planning for the Rails to Trails project, I would have thought they would have gotten permission to use all of these lines.
Pam, they just met with Pam today, I think, right?
Yeah, they did, and they are actually new owners from the previous.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Met with them today. They are actually brandy new owners. They bought it from the old owner. I asked them if they had any kind of a deal or a contract with snowmobile people or any kind of recreational. They said they did not because they're new and they're going to pretty much try to work with people, but if they want to renew the line, they're going to renew the line. I don't know what there was for a previous agreement with the previous owner. Maybe Terry knows, for use. But it sounds like they're going to pursue reactivating the line.
Which would mean they won't be available for the Rails to Trails project.
I can't speak for them, but possibility.
Do you want to take any action, such as writing a letter in support of the Rails to Trails project?
And supporting them?
The Rails to Trails project, yes.
Oh, for
The recreation
yeah, for
for,
recreation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer not to have a bunch of tanks and
You don't wanna stare at that?
not really. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to do a letter in support of recreation on that.
we want to have Jeanette draft, what's your time commitment like this coming week? Do you have time to draft it?
Sure, I
For
can.
one of us?
Or if one of them want to try. You guys just tell me what you need.
I make a motion that as a select board, we write a letter to the new owner of the rail line in support of the Twin State Railroad Rails to Trails project.
I'll second that. All's in favor?
Aye.
Do you want me to work on a draft?
Please.
That'd be great.
MCC Transportation Improvement Plan project?
That's a document that I emailed everyone to look at, take a look at, and provide input.
What do we have that we can put in for that? I mean, we got with a, because I did read it, with a support like back roads, dirt roads. It's talking about infrastructure. I don't know if back roads considered that.
Back roads or infrastructure?
Yeah, it is.
'Cause I mean,
Did we get any feedback from that?
No. Is Adam here?
the back roads and some paving. My understanding, that's a grant that they will give out towards municipalities to take care of.
Did you have,
And I do believe the plan is also can be priorities on state roads too.
did you have a chance to look at that document that I sent you for North Country Council? Okay. So are there certain roads that you're thinking about, Tom? Or?
Well, I know, talking with Adam when he was here before, that dirt roads, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's paving that has to be done, you know.
And the paving, usually we only do that every 2 or 3 years, and it's a small, just repaving. That's all that we can afford.
Well, and this improvement plan is for 2027 to 2036, so it's
It's looking forward.
looking forward.
That's okay. I mean,
Right.
it's,
Well, that's
it's
what, I'm just saying it's not in the near future, so what are we,
But this is our opportunity to get our
Right.
want list in front of the state.
right,
if you don't get it, you're gonna get it.
Do we know the deadline for?
I think you get a little time. I think if you could take a look at that, come in next meeting, go over it. If you're not
by
too busy.
Wednesday, July 3rd.
So that's coming up quickly.
Well, today's the 10th. So if everyone can look at it and throw their ideas together, then we could talk about it on the 24th.
Your input's gonna mean the most because you're out there.
Policies and procedures.
This is your document, so Ron is here, Adam is here. Come on in, guys. This is-
But I think we've got,
Can you sit up in the
Has there
front?
been, has there been,
I gotta have papers to read.
Yes, we thought.
This is just the policies and procedures part.
Oh, I got others.
You got other stuff, that's in
I got
new
other
business.
stuff.
That's in new business.
Okay, that works.
Just-
Let's see.
what we really should look at, what we already have in our policy and procedure binder and look at each of these items individually. Instead of-
Come on up. It's a department head thing. So we tabled the key thing.
Yeah.
All right, so. I made a few notes of things that you probably should reconsider, but I don't know. Now, first of all, Joe Beck made the point that the apparatus and all the equipment is under my
Right.
control, under RSA 154. That being said, anytime you want to see it, all you gotta do is call me. I've encouraged the board at any time, call, I'll take you to the station, I'll show you all the equipment, I'll show you the apparatus, I'll even explain how it works. Anytime, anytime. It's an open book, we got nothing to hide. Anytime you want to see it, I've encouraged that. I think it would be great if you maybe did.
And we knew that,
Yep.
that's not an issue.
I think it'd be great.
Actually, none of this is really an issue, it's just, as being a select board, just keeping updated on what's going on.
Which we do.
We're not going to come in
Which we
there and
do.
say, you gotta do this, that, and the other thing,
What you gotta
you
get
know,
is,
because I don't even know how you do it to begin with.
what you gotta get is there isn't much that goes on at a lot of points. Like this year, we've answered calls. That's it. There's like been really nothing else. The boat I brought
Yeah,
to you, that's done. It's in the station, that type of stuff. Anything that we do, I've always brought to the board. Any accident that we've ever had has always been reported. The only one we've had, and I just brought an example of it, there's a report from way back, you know. Obviously, it needs to get reported because Jeanette's got a bunch of work to do if we have an accident in notifying the appropriate insurance company people and all of that type of stuff. The first thing, if we have an accident, the first phone call I'm gonna make is gonna be New Hampshire State Police.
Right.
The law says that. I think the sensible thing to do, and I don't mind tracking down the select board, but I think it makes more sense to call the town administrator, tell her it happened, she can notify the board and notify the insurance company, and then I will follow it up with a written report to her that she will give to the board. That seems to be the simplest way to handle it. That's how we handled it when I was in the other town I was in. It was a lot easier than trying to get a hold of a select board member. Maybe you're easy to get a hold of, but, you know, because the insurance company has to be notified and there's people that have to be notified to it. And but I don't know, to me, I think it works better to just call the town administrator and let her deal with it. And then follow it up with a written report and then go from there. But that's up to you, however you want to do it. I'm assuming when you say call, if I break a piece of equipment, if I have a nozzle go down at 3 o'clock in the morning on a structure fire, do you want me to call you? Or do you want me to reach in the cabinet and throw another nozzle on it and deal with it in the morning?
Right.
You know what I mean? We do most of our own maintenance in-house. Most of our repairs we do in-house. There's very little that we send out. Anything that's major, I always discuss with the board prior to that, before we do anything. We've never spent any amount of money without discussing it with the board, but I do have a budget for maintenance. And we go over to the station and grease stuff and do maintenance type stuff, and I you know, I don't feel like I should have to notify the board every time I do some maintenance stuff.
No, that ain't, that's,
You know what I mean?
that's far from the
But
issue.
that's what this policy is saying.
Well, kind of, I mean,
It's saying any fire or EMS equipment breakdowns, Ron to report immediately to your fire phone. That seems like micromanagement and overkill, because
it also says in the RSA that I'm to give a yearly report to the board on the condition of the equipment and what we spent on maintenance. That happens when I come in with my budget for the following year. We discuss the equipment, the condition it's in, what we've spent is in writing at that point, and then we discuss what we need for the following year to maintain the equipment. So you're updated.
Well, in doing that too, that's gonna help us to
Sure.
think about, start doing some sort of a budget for your fire truck down the road.
Oh, we're not even.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
for
yeah.
capital.
We're so far off from that.
Yeah, but my point is that, I understand what you're saying. It's just the news coming back here to the board.
Mhm.
In my opinion, it hasn't,
There hasn't,
not from you.
yeah, hasn't
It
been
has,
much.
there was, the communication broken.
I will tell you what we did, and maybe this is something to think about. When I was in Whitefield, they set it up so once a month the department head came in. We came in, gave a little short synopsis as to what
Yeah.
we had done through the month,
Maybe in a quarter.
whatever, and
Do you mind doing that, or?
was kind of, no, I don't mind doing that. Kind of a neat little update thing, just to say, hey, here's what we did. Obviously, the calls I can't discuss by,
Right.
that's privacy.
Yeah.
But certainly, what we've done throughout the month or whatever isn't an issue. More than happy to do that.
Is once a month the right time frame, or is it
Well,
every couple of months or
it
quarterly?
kind of depends. Emergency service is one of those things where we might go 3 months with no calls, and then we might go 3 months with call after call after call. It's been very slow this year so far.
And I can say over
So-
the past 5 years, Ron's been very good about coming to the board with issues or problems. You know, he should come in during a meeting. You know, I think if there was something, an emergency situation, I feel confident that Ron would reach out to us.
Well, yeah, we have to,
But-
because my budget only accounts for so much. I mean, if we have a major breakdown, we're gonna be talking about dipping into capital reserve or something anyway, so it's gonna have to be a discussion as to
Right, but I think the question
the
is,
small stuff.
do you need to call Eric immediately, or do you bring it to the board at the next meeting?
Yeah, well, it
And
depends.
that's,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, if it's something, knock on wood, so far, we haven't had a piece of emergency equipment that's been down that we wasn't able to put back in service. That could happen. You never know. I mean, that's a possibility, but hopefully not. But certainly I don't mind, I don't mind updating you on the equipment and all that type of stuff. But like I said, I don't think calling immediately at 3 a.m. if I blow a hose or a nozzle breaks is realistic. We'll screw another hose on and put another nozzle on, and we'll continue. And I have a budget that'll probably buy me a new nozzle if I have to, and it probably doesn't need to be a big issue when it comes to that. One of the things I've always liked about this town is that the departments have always functioned well together. Adam and I work together all the time. We communicate all the time. We work together. Jeanette's been awesome. I mean, I call her, I need something, I need a paper, I need a TIN number for some project I'm doing. It's done, it's there. So things are happening. So maybe somehow we need to let you know more if that's what you're asking, but things are happening. Things just get done in this town, and it kind of has always been that way. When Bob was there, him and I always communicated.
So like,
all
for
the
example,
time.
in the winter, if Ron's got a call, the highway department will help make sure they
Oh,
can get there.
absolutely.
Or during a storm in the summer, if there are trees down, the highway department. And it would take away from what they're doing to their job, and they have to stop and call you as chair of the select board. And you wouldn't add any value to the process. You know, they're just doing their job.
It's a
That's
regular
my
day-to-day.
opinion.
It is, yes. It's day-to-day operations what it
And
is.
he's doing his job as the job head. That's the thing. He's doing his job as the job head of the select board. The select board, and it works way down. He's not gonna interfere on what they gotta do, but it's the knowledge, having the knowledge. No, it doesn't mean
Why
that,
does he need
excuse me, it doesn't mean that he gets it right then and there. I believe with what Ron said, there's protocols, but eventually it gets back to Eric or to the board.
That's why when I read this and it says immediately call, and I don't, in my 5 years, I haven't felt any lack of communication.
No.
Because Ron has always come to the board, you know, he's come to meetings if there's an issue or something going on.
During the flooding, we've reached out
Yeah,
on a daily basis sometimes to the prior board. So, and the same thing will happen with you guys. I mean, if we've got something going on, I pretty much try to update the board on a regular basis so you know what's going on. We've always done that. It's nothing new.
I think you do a good job. I will add the fact that the big truck went down. We didn't hear about that right off, but it was just a few dollars and it was up and running again. But no, we spent money for somebody else to haul sand that we didn't have to do. That's the point. It needs to get here so we can discuss that.
but that's coming to a meeting and having a discussion.
No, it can come to the board right off so we can make a decision on
But
what
we
to do with it.
cannot make a decision outside of a meeting.
We can have an emergency meeting then, whatever it takes. But my point is that truck sat there doing nothing. And we paid somebody else, town tax money, to haul our dirt that we didn't have to do. We had a knowledgeable man, you've got to agree with this. A knowledgeable man came in and got it going and saved us that extra money being spent out.
So Adam, was that before you came over there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we put Adam in place.
Yep.
You're gonna come to the board if there's
There's
issues,
nothing
right?
I won't tell you, and there's nothing that I won't keep from you. Whatever you wanna know, I'll let you know.
But to say
Whatever you
that,
wanna see, I'll show you.
you know, any equipment breakdowns, Adam would report to Eric via phone.
Right.
You know, if they're, to me, that feels like micromanagement, because a big part of your job is dealing with equipment breakdowns, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
let him do his
It's
job.
equipment. It's
If there's a
equipment.
big thing, he'll, you know,
Stop turning the table, but just accept the fact that one little point that I'm trying to say, that truck sat there and cost the town money. That's not micromanaging, that's working on something, getting it back going again to stop spending money in the wrong places. But you're making it look like that we're trying to micromanage and make everybody feel like this high, you know, that's not the case.
when I read this document, that's exactly what it reads. If you put this into place as policy, any equipment breakdowns, Adam to report to Eric via phone. You'd be getting 1 million phone calls.
Yeah, I gotta go buy a $6.68 screw for the rake.
Yeah, full throw. I have no problem letting you know whenever, reach out to. And I know you don't, I'm just talking to you, I'm just saying, I have no problem letting you know anything.
And by all means, we
And
got
if
cell
it breaks,
phones.
if
you know.
it breaks down, I'm gonna fix it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm gonna
And-
continue
And you should,
moving
and you
forward.
should. It's the
Can I
big
say
dollar
something?
items that we need to know.
Well, right, well, yeah.
I
So-
think we understand what you're saying, and I believe that at one point there was a warrant to limit the amount of money they could spend, but the town voted it down. where they wanted us to get bids. Do you remember that for a town meeting where they wanted us to get 3 bids, have
Oh,
a
the
certain
things that
amount,
Yeah,
and that got voted down?
Yep.
So,
We put a lot of time and effort, and I know Adam does, into, I have vendors I deal with because their prices are right, and because they treat us right, and because their service is good. And I'm very frugal with the money, but you have to also deal with people that offer you service, have to have service.
Yeah.
You know, if our rig does go down and I have to send it out, I have to be able to get it fixed. I can't wait for a month while somebody's deciding they're gonna fix it. And we had a good relationship with some of the people that are able to do that for us, so, you know, kind of important. But yeah, by all means, and like I said, I've told every board member, you know, reach out, it's not a problem. I get a cell phone, it belongs to the town, I turn it on when I get it, and it doesn't get shut off until I get a new one. It sits next to the bed at night, people call me at 3 o'clock in the morning all the time.
I ain't call you that late.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. So anytime there's a question or anything, feel free to call. I'll gladly take you through the station, show you the equipment. It'd probably be a good thing to understand what we have. You know, I mean, there's some neat stuff over there. I mean, we have extrication tools and we have all kinds of stuff. I got a whole set of airbags that another town gave us free of charge. And we get a lot of stuff. We get a lot of hand-me-down stuff in this town because we're small and people like to give us stuff. And I'll show you that at any time. A lot of the equipment we share, you know, I've got equipment in the station that instead of Adam running out and buying it again, he goes to the station, gets ours and uses his town property. So why not? You know what I mean? It saves the town money.
Yeah.
You know, we operate on the cheap, believe me. Compare my budget to some of the surrounding towns and you'll start to get a big picture. You know, my guys go out, they get paid for the first hour at a low rate. All the other towns around us are all 2-hour minimal call outs. You know, we don't do that. I mean, we operate very inexpensively.
I think it's important to also note that even if someone isn't coming into this room, into a meeting, sitting at the table to tell you about something, you're seeing it if you're signing a check or if you're signing an agreement. And sometimes, I mean, you're getting all of the information, it's just sometimes you're not putting it together. I'm guilty of it myself, but sometimes you really have to be cognizant of what you're looking at, what you're reading, and what you're signing, and what I process, because that's how you know what's going on. I mean, when that dump truck was down and Bob kept trying to get it fixed because it's an electrical problem and they kept not being able to fix it, we kept seeing those invoices. So we knew it was down, we knew it wasn't working, but it wasn't, Bob didn't come in and sit down at the table and say, hey, my dump truck is down. I mean, we did pay for someone to haul some of our stuff, but we also hauled with a smaller truck. So,
and he was trying to get it fixed
right.
during that time, so it's
So I
not
mean,
like we could have
it's
solved the
not like,
problem.
I don't think anyone is purposely trying to withhold anything from the board. It's just, it's in their regular daily routine to fix things and take care of things, and that's why they're paid, you know?
And we try to explain it. Jeanette's gotten on to us more than once. Hey, you know, what is this? Explain what this is. And so we try to do that on the invoices so that it doesn't just have a number, it has
What it's for.
And I know
what
it
it's
right on
for.
the back, so.
Exactly. So we're trying to write it in a way that it's easy to say, oh, okay, they bought a new pager or something like that. So we're working on that, trying to make sure that it's understood. So, and here again, if it isn't, by all means, question it. Let us know, because we can certainly explain it.
I had a question. Given the example cited of the truck being down, how would this new policy have improved that situation?
They wonder.
That's my point. There's still their first priority is to fix the equipment, to get it up and running, to save the town money so that we don't have to pay. I think informing the select board needs to take a little bit of a back seat to fixing the problem.
No, because that would have helped by, they could have came to us and said, hey, we got a breakdown, and maybe there would have been other people with the knowledge to help with that situation. The thing about it is the board is the head of the town, needs to know what's going on. Doesn't mean it's gonna all happen just like that.
I understand that, but a new policy of informing the board doesn't get the problem
We
fixed
bought the
faster.
mirror
No, but they still
at
need to know.
cost, and I put it on for nothing, and it was fixed it down the road. So, I tried to avoid the owl, but I couldn't. But other than that, I'll tell you, we've been very fortunate. I got some good people. They, knock on wood, we haven't had accidents. We haven't had, the trucks are clean. You go look at the trucks, there's no dents and scratches, and they take pride in their stuff, and I'm really impressed with that.
We know you take pride.
They're really good about that. So we got a wicked good crew, and
You guys are the best.
and she feeds us every meeting. Yeah, so no, I don't mind coming in if that would help you guys out. I don't mind coming in once a month with just a little, I don't want to log everything I do,
No.
but I could certainly come in with some kind of an outline and say, hey, just so you know, here's what we did last month, and that type of stuff. I have no problem with that. A lot of the towns do that. We used to do that, like I said, when we were in Whitefield, we used to go in once a month there and just a little brief department head thing.
Just keeps us up to date.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll catch
Yeah,
up.
exactly. I think that makes a lot more sense than,
Yeah,
you know,
and looking at what we already have for policies before we try to do something different. What about you, Adam? What would work for you?
Anything. I'm game for anything. I know before we talked about quarterly.
Yeah.
Talked about doing it quarterly, and said if that's what everyone wants to do, then
Just keep
I'm
an
all for
update
it.
where you are, and if you're having a hard time or getting behind, because if we don't know, we can't help.
I will reach out
Yeah.
oh yeah, you'll be the
I
first to
will
know if
reach
we need
out.
something,
if I need to.
definitely, so,
But
but
the
yeah.
thing about this, I agree with what you said, but, they letting us know, I need it right now. But if we know that it's coming, then we can start working on this.
That I agree with.
That's my point.
Yeah.
It's all about communication.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, and certainly working together, that's the key, and we've always done that,
At the end of the day, it's the
We've always
town
done
and the
that.
people.
you
What
know?
we do.
And the things that work well,
Oh.
I don't think we need to recreate things.
I pulled up to a gas pump in this town with my rig on empty with the gas card and had it be voided because the bill wasn't paid. That hasn't
Not
happened.
recently.
No, this has been, the bills are paid. I called for materials a bunch of years ago, and the place said, oh yeah, well, I'll send them to you, but you haven't paid your bill in 3 months. Everything's
That was more than 5 years ago.
everything's done. Everything is done. It's up, things are running, I think things are running pretty decent. I haven't had any issues on anything. Jeanette's been great to deal with. I call her if I have a problem or I need something, and she takes care of it. If there's an invoice or something that's questionable, she picks up the phone, calls them, straightens it all out. Here's what the story is. I think it's going great. I really do. I hope nothing screws that up. It's kind of nice to, I don't have time to deal with some of that stuff. I got 5 job positions in this town.
So the other members of the board may not understand all your positions. You want to just go through them while you're here?
Fire
The fire.
encompasses EMS, forest fire warden, health officer, and emergency management director. The health officer was kind of a weird one because they was going to hire somebody from out of town because nobody in town would take it. So I took it thinking, okay, well, that's no big deal. Health officers don't do much. Well, then came COVID, 40, 50 hours a week being a health officer, and I didn't get paid for that.
I was just going to say, he didn't get any increase in
It
pay.
was crazy. Then I figured, okay, wow, we're finally getting out of COVID, so things will be a little bit better. The legislature then decided, health officers are now going to be certified. So I had to take a bunch of classes, testing, and get certified. Jeanette has a certificate that says I'm certified as a health officer in the state of New Hampshire. Oh, yeah, so it's,
And towns are required to have a health officer.
Yeah.
It's not optional.
No, I think you're right. I
yeah,
know about that.
absolutely. And it's sometimes not the best job either, I can tell
No.
you. Out of all of them I do, that's probably one of the worst ones sometimes, but yeah, and all the COVID thing was just, that was crazy. People didn't see the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, we had a regional system set up where every single day we was emailing every EMS service almost in this whole entire area and following, because if they had people sick, it was up to me maybe to step up with one of my guys to keep there, and we just constantly had like a task force to keep all the stuff going so that if people needed a service, we had people to do it.
And they had something similar for the highway department too, for
Exactly.
Backup
coverage.
plan.
Yeah, it was,
Was to get sick, especially with one lung getting COVID. Or if all of us at the time, the three of us got sick, we could get someone to plow the road.
Yeah.
During the winter.
And likewise, you'd help other towns. If we-
Yep. Oh, yeah.
and so that's
yeah, it was quite a thing. That was,
So you may not realize that they both have emergency binders with procedures and
Yep.
things to do in case of emergencies and
Numbers of all.
numbers and everything, so.
and you're gonna get to see some of it because the town mitigation plan, we just got the grant to redo that, and the select board's involved in that, and there's a lot of information that has to get plugged into it, so it's an eye opener. So, yeah, and that's,
Yeah, I could just say something. Do you guys have, I don't know if you might be too small, but do you have like committees within your departments? Oh, see, we have that on the school board.
I have officers.
Well, they have that in the schools. They have committees like maintenance, buildings, curriculum, whatever. They have committees. And a school board member has to be part of every one of those committees. Not all of us, but like you'll be on one and you'll be on one. And then we come back to the board and we'll report what's going on in that department.
We technically,
have that.
there's
The
a
planning board.
safety
Yeah.
committee for the town of Dalton that should be,
That needs to be.
that is like
needs to get put
meet
together
every
soon again.
3 months and
That hasn't been done. But yeah, we run more on officers, and the officers have some designated duties within the department that they are responsible for.
No, I'm just saying, I don't mean that
Yep.
in a disparaging way, but I think you're just a small unit compared to like
Yes,
the curriculum for the whole school district, not
Yes.
just, one school. So one of us school board members attends every one of their meetings and they reports back. So,
certainly one of the things you figure out is you can't do it all.
no,
And I have to have people under me to do certain things because I can't do it all.
no,
And
no.
you know, that's how it
even though you
operates.
feed them
And
and attendance
you
is
know,
up,
it's just, yeah,
you
exactly.
can't do it all.
You know,
No.
attendance is
it's just
always
kind of how
up.
it is. Any more than the board could do everything and run a whole town, you know, you can't do it. You gotta have people
Yeah.
to help do that, and it's just how it is. That's the only way it works.
So Adam, you've been what? Is it 2 or 3 months now?
Somewhere around there.
How's it going?
Going.
Going all right?
Yeah.
The roads are a little bit wider, I was telling him that he's
Getting
managed to, yeah,
Put them up a little bit.
yeah, definitely.
Trying to bring them back as I
Definitely.
can.
Is Lawrence working? Is he back up? Oh, yeah.
He starts the 17th, doesn't he?
We don't know if Lawrence
I
is
don't know
starting.
what's going
No one
on
has
with
heard
him.
from him.
I've called him and he has not returned the call.
What about
I've
the other
driven
guy?
by his house, he started today.
He did.
Yep.
Very good, at least you got one.
Exactly. Out of the two, I was hoping for the two, but one's better than none.
That's right.
I'll take it. But
Well,
I've driven by Lawrence's house to see if he was home, just to touch base with him, and I've asked his boy, hey, when you see Dad, tell him I'd like to talk to him.
Yeah.
Haven't heard or seen. I said, well, I'm not chasing him. He wants a job, he knows where I am, I'm not gonna chase him.
Right.
He signed an offer letter, right? Yeah. For the, yep, 17th is the start date,
Wow.
so. Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if that covers everything you wanted to cover, but, I think working together
Makes it hard.
openly would be better than that, personally. That's how I would look at it. So, and like I said, feel free to reach out to us. It's not a problem. And I'm around most of the time, so definitely, definitely. So, all right, excellent. Excellent.
Feel free to stop into the shop anytime. I'm not a big phone guy, I'll answer it, I'll talk to you, but I'd rather face
You always
to face
answer it when I
talk.
call you.
I'd rather face to face talk, but
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
no, I'll always answer.
definitely. All right.
I'm just not a fan of them.
And I'll plan on coming in and giving you a little briefing if you want. No problem.
Yeah.
Well, if that is, I mean, that takes care of that anyways, you know. So, that's just, like I said, we're not trying to tell you how to run your business, or run that, because we couldn't do it. Just, if there's issues, and I know that you bring it up.
Oh, yeah.
If we know issues ahead of time, we can start planning ahead of time.
And like I said, you know, Adam and I work good together. All the department heads work good together. You know, it makes for a lot nicer town when that happens. That's for sure. So, yep. All right. Cool. Cool.
Just one thing, I was gonna say that it's on the idea of, you get guys under you,
Oh, yeah.
and, they're not just gonna come and take off with the trucks and do whatever they want without talking to you.
Yep, no,
So that's, like I said, it's the communication on what's going on.
I got some, yeah, I got no complaints in my guys, I gotta tell you, it's pretty lucky, and when you look at some of the departments,
You gotta have somebody that's got your back.
We've done well, and I can trust them, and so, yeah, definitely, so. Excellent.
You wanna get your business out of the way, while you're up here.
It's pretty simple, I think we already discussed a lot of it. I was just trying to give you some ideas as to what we did here, that's all. All right. So, like I said, and it's kind of by their choice, I guess, too, in a way, but the payroll in this town is really low. I mean, most of these towns are at least in the mid-20s on a call-out fee with a 2-hour minimal call-out fee. So when one of my guys gets called out, they're getting $17 for their time to leave get up in the middle of the night and go out on a call, and most of the other towns are getting 50. I mentioned to them that maybe it was time for a little more money, and instead they opted to buy some better equipment and some better gear and stuff, and they said we'd rather see the money get spent on equipment and stuff that will help the town. So we're gonna try to do that. I'm trying to update a little bit of the equipment and stuff, if that's what they wanna do and they're willing to do that. Most of the guys don't look at the money as the primary reason that they're doing it, obviously. So we're way under most of the towns, and yet we still have a crew that's willing to do it.
Right.
But we have to take care of them, or they probably will go somewhere else.
Do they get compensated for gas?
No, they run their POVs. I did a little thing here, some of the stuff. So in 2012, when I built that Expedition, I built that whole vehicle from the ground up at no labor charge to the town, period.
Yeah.
Took stuff out of my garage to build it. 2017, I overhauled the Expedition. I put over $3,500 in it out of my pocket, no charge to the town. We ran it an additional 5 years after that. 2022, I built the Expedition that we have now. I did all the lighting on it. I did everything on that vehicle in-house. We built that whole entire vehicle for under $56,000 brand new. And if you priced an SUV lately, that was a good deal. When I go out of town to meetings, I just went to a mutual aid meeting in Colebrook. I left the EMS vehicle at my house so Carol could run it. If a call came in, I ran my pickup, my personal vehicle, no gas, no mileage. I have never charged the town gas. I've never charged mileage on my vehicles, and I use them all the time for town business. There's a lot of stuff that goes to this. A lot of the fire apparatus I repair for nothing. We built that whole entire tanker over in the fire station. That whole truck cost us $25,000. I mean, that's a $250,000 truck. If you replace it, probably more. When we did the dump valves on the truck, I bought all the parts. We were talking $1,500 per valve. Would have been $4,500 to rebuild the valves on that. I bought the parts, did all the labor for nothing. We did it for $500 versus $4,500. That's the type of stuff that we do. The health officer requiring the certification, the COVID stuff we went through. The fire department members rebuilt the meeting room upstairs. We built a big training room. We put in a TV. We put in computer and made a training room. There was no charge to the town for any of the work that they did. There's so much of this stuff that just it's just done, you know. They go to these certification classes. We pay for the class. They travel on their own dime. Some of the classes that they have to take at the end are down in southern New Hampshire. They travel on their own dime. They don't get paid for that. You know, I don't have that in my budget, unfortunately. The association donated a thermal imaging camera to the fire department last year. We did a bunch of fundraisers, donated a thermal imaging camera. Didn't cost the town anything. We just rebuilt the whole boat. I spent 40 hours in my garage rebuilding that, rewiring it and converting it. There was no bill to the town for that. I took stuff out of my garage to do it. And now we got a utility truck that we're doing. That's the same thing. Sandblast the frame, clean it all up, put on all new lighting, putting a new body on it. All that labor will be done for nothing. So, pretty good deal, I think, at the end of the day, you know. There's a lot of stuff that we just do.
Right.
And that's the reason I can operate on $70,000 a year versus $350,000 or $400,000. So,
right.
You know, that's the difference. I guess it's called small town, and hopefully we can keep it that way and keep it working. But I put a lot of time into stuff that I don't get paid for. I won't get into it too far. I'll tell you that the big rumor about this 20% raise, my pay right now per week is $15 a week less than it was in 2014. And I have documentation to prove it.
I don't even know what to make.
Hey, it's public. It's public. But yeah. I had a deal in 2014, and in 2016 they cut the budget so bad that we cut all the pay and cut everything out in that department. And when I finally got enough money, all I asked for was to go back to what my original agreement was, and I'm still $15 under that. And I wasn't the health officer in 2014, and I am now, and I get no additional pay for that. So, believe me, I do 20 hours a week at $18 an hour is what I get paid for. And I probably work 30 and 35 a lot of weeks doing it, so. And that's fine, whatever, but it pisses me off when I hear people saying, oh yeah, he got a big raise. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I'm working for less now than I did in 2014. So.
Yeah, it ticks me off too when it doesn't come across the board and I don't know about it, that I can't help out.
Yep, well, it was floated around out for quite a while. And
I know, in my opinion, people think I know everything, but I don't.
Yep. Well, I
don't know
think
what's going on.
it boils down to maybe what was said, you know, some of this stuff on the street, if you hear it, I think it needs to just get discussed in the open, and that's a lot better way to solve it.
It does, and don't add on to the rumors,
Yep.
don't feed the rumors. I think
Yep.
that's so important.
Yeah, if you hear something and you got a question, then go to the department head and ask them. You know, I won't lie. I'll tell it straight up. Always have. But, you know,
Well, thank you for your input.
so, okay? Cool.
Yeah, grant fund opportunity?
The
Any update?
solar grant came out 6 days ago, so currently reviewing that RFP. The board will have to make a decision as to whether we want to apply for it or not.
The deadline is July, or no?
I think it's July. I think it's
I think it was
sometime in
later than
July.
that. I thought, questions by July, and then.
Maybe
remember now.
September.
Might have been September.
I think I forwarded it to everyone, so.
That's 448 pages.
Yeah, those grants are no joke.
They take time.
Yep,
I know.
lots of detail.
I didn't spend a lot of time on it, I just glanced at it. One of the things you mentioned was other, energy efficiency measures that the town is doing.
Mhm,
And I know we looked at, replacing the lights with LED.
mhm.
And I thought I remembered there's paying some grant money for that, but that would be a good way of showing that we're making things, energy efficient.
Inside lights or outside lights?
It was inside. It was an LED.
Didn't we do the outside too?
They could, I think it was everything.
Is that the Eversource grant? That
This
we
was
got
the
priced
lighting
up for
efficiency
$50,000?
upgrades, this one by Infinity.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the $50,000 to do the entire building,
Yeah,
all the buildings.
okay. And I don't remember what, did we decide to go forward on it or not?
No, you guys said $50,000, wow.
It was too much, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So other things, I think, as we look at fixing the windows, that one should help energy efficiency.
Yep.
The boiler door would be another thing.
I don't know if that would really be an efficiency thing, it's more of a security thing.
Yeah.
New Hampshire Clean Diesel grant program?
There's not anything to add to the other two. We're just waiting for the truck on the clean diesel grant.
So I'm just looking back to the LED stuff, and the payback would be about 8 years.
Yeah,
Would be-
I'd still like to get a copy of that grant on that truck to be able to look at that.
I sent it to you via email
No, I didn't get it.
You didn't get
a
it?
few weeks
No.
ago. I
got
sent it to all the selectmen. Everyone got it.
Well, maybe it's going into scam or something, I'll look. 'Cause
Yeah,
I haven't, I tell you, I
Cause
probably
I even got it.
You did?
Yeah.
Sent it to everyone.
I'll look again.
You asked for that one and you asked for the one regarding the pump station work.
Yeah.
Yeah, sent them both.
I got them both. The CCIP tech assistant grant?
Nothing there.
Now we're going to public comments.
I wanted to inquire as to the status of the information request that I submitted a significant amount of time ago. Have not received a reply yet. This was referring to request for information from Mr. Dubreuil's phone concerning Selectboard information as far as emails to outside sources, text messages, et cetera, et cetera. But I received an email from Mr. Dubreuil, claiming that, citing, RSA 91A5, section 8, and it was incorrectly cited. I don't know, I replied to your email, I don't know if you received it.
When did you reply?
It was earlier today.
That I didn't go on today.
I do have copies of that.
And actually, all that was a month ago. We was the 29th meeting, it was stated red, and Jeanette should have sent it to you and let you know. But she did give you the copy of all the other stuff.
Just so that everyone knows, here's copies of the email that I received and replied to today.
What was I supposed to send him, Tom?
At the 29th meeting, I read the RSA on what my personal phone was all about.
Uh-huh.
And that was enough document right there for you to send to, I forgot your name,
Mr. Fountain.
Mr. Fountain.
So my recollection from that meeting is that Jeanette asked you to send her an email with that information.
Jeanette, it was right there. It's supposed to be in the email. This is just a game that's being played, and I'm not gonna play the game. I'm sorry, sir, that you didn't get it in time, but you do have it.
Well, and I object to the fact that this is being described as a game. You were one that has.
I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about
I
her.
have witnessed, advocated for transparency. That's all I'm asking for. Do you or do you not believe in transparency?
I definitely do.
Then why do you not do the same that you expect of others?
I do.
You're not doing it here.
So I'm sorry, I need to interject because I feel the need to defend myself. In the email that you addressed to me regarding the request for information, you said that you might add that there was items that we discussed, the right to know, that they were not in the April 29th minutes for the public to see. And then you added that you're surprised that the town secretary would omit such information, which you had replied to the matter in April 29th meeting. I didn't print out 4 copies because I didn't want to waste the paper, but I underlined the entire paragraph that does discuss it. You asked why it wasn't sent to the board for discussion. I stated that they don't get board discussion. The administrator gets the right to know, and we're required to respond in 5 days, that you were in violation. You claim that's not true. I'm going to skip a bunch of stuff. And then you talked about, you read out loud from Knowing Your Territory that if the notes or recordings are for private use, they're not discoverable. You stated again you were not in violation. I stated that you need to respond so that I can respond to Mr. Fountain. You asked for the right to know request that came in. You received it the same time I did because it was sent to the select board. You insisted that it wasn't valid because it wasn't signed. I disagreed, and I again asked for you to provide me with your response for the right to know so that I could respond to Mr. Fountain. You then, in that meeting on April 29th, as you so stated in your response, stated that I will get it. I have not gotten it. This is the first thing I've gotten from you in writing that has anything to do with that right to know, Tom. So please, I'm asking for you to please stop lying and defaming my name and my position. Please stop.
Don't go there.
Because it keeps being done over and over and over. And I'm asking you to please
If you're gonna
stop.
play this, don't, oh my gosh. When this all came about, you only gave me,
What is this about? What is this right to know about? Everybody else seems to know, but I don't have a clue.
But you've been to all the meetings.
Refresh my memory.
This right to know came from Mr. Fountain asking for information from Tom's email and Tom's phone because he's recording the meetings.
And so,
I don't have access to Tom's phone, so I
as you
can't.
shouldn't. That's his
Right.
personal phone.
Well, which is why I've been asking since, what is the date of your right to know, Bob?
Oh, this goes back to mid-April.
No, the 29th of April is when we discussed it.
it was that night.
So the original request was from April 15th.
Why do you want this information, I guess is what my question is.
Anyone can ask for anything via right to know, Pam. You know that.
They don't
Right?
have to give a reason.
They don't have to give a reason. So
All right to know you guys for the same thing.
that's fine, no problem.
I'm just simply asking.
It's not my job to ask why. It's my job to respond as it's outlined in 91A. That's all.
Well, anyways, I'm sorry it took so long. You got it.
I have gotten nothing.
What don't you have?
As it states here, there was a request for the recordings and emails to outside domains.
The NHMA states, I do this for my own personal use because I can't, for the dyslexia, I have a hard time remembering so that I can go back over my minutes. And he said, if I'm using it for my own personal use, that it is not public material.
Now, how are we to know it's not for?
And that's
official
where
purpose?
that RSA right there, which I was hoping that Jeanette would have sent it or you would have wrote it, saw it on the email.
I cited, the RSA is right here.
Yeah.
And what you sent me, and you cite it as saying tapes or notes being made by a board member for personal use are not governmental records and not subject to disclosure under right and law. That's not even correctly citing the RSA.
I'll relook at that and send you what
The RSA is, I just gave you the RSA, it's right in front of you, sir.
Doesn't this open up to anyone can requisition anybody's personal?
If you're an elected official, that is so.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have just one comment. When you all were discussing the minutes and you, Eric and Tom, didn't want to sign it, that's fine. I'm just wondering, when you're stating that there's lots of problems, but you're not stating what they are and there's people watching, it makes me really uncomfortable because both of you said that you want transparency, and I want to believe that. But when you're stating that there's an issue and you're not bringing forth what the issue is, or you can't articulate that issue, that leaves everybody to their imagination. And that's really uncomfortable because I'm sitting here listening to what you're saying and thinking, what the hell is going on that you're saying that there's a problem that you can't sign it? It's so nefarious that you can't sign it, but you can't state it either. And if there's that many problems, you both said there's numerous problems, I would hope that as select board members, you would come prepared to state what those problems are in a manner that is concise, and we could go right down through it because minutes, I believe, are paragraphed in, and we could just go paragraph by paragraph of all the issues that are there, but you're leaving it open to interpretation that there's an issue, but you're not stating what the issue is. And it's really, really uncomfortable. And I'm okay with being uncomfortable. What I'm not okay with is you're representing a people and you're saying there's a problem with recording, and that is not okay. So if there really is a problem with the recording of the minutes, you as the officials that are stating that there's a problem should be able to say what they are concisely and precisely to everybody and be able to point it out and not just kick the can down the road. It's in front of you, you should be able to say that. And unfortunately, it's being said in a way that we'll just discuss this later. You're leaving it open for interpretation, like there's something going on that we're not aware of, but as taxpayers, we should be aware of.
That's right.
Then make me aware of it.
Yeah, that's why I tabled it so I can.
Why is it tabled?
Because I need to go back over and clarify myself so I can explain it better. I cannot do good under pressure, and they know
So
that.
with my expectation, or could I expect that at the next meeting, you could come in with bullet statements of all of the issues wrong with the meeting minutes?
I'm hoping.
You're an elected official, I should be able to have an expectation.
You get your
Eric,
point.
can I expect you to come in, since you also said that there were problems with the minutes, that you could write them down and say what the problems are?
Were you here 2 weeks ago?
I don't need to be here. You're here doing it right now and saying there's a problem right now.
I didn't
I
see you.
was told I was here for all the meetings and I asked you.
I'm not speaking to you. I'm asking you a question, Eric. If you're saying that there's a problem with the meeting minutes, can I expect that you can say what they are?
Yeah.
Then why wasn't it said? What was the problem? That's the problem. So there's this missive here that you can't articulate what the issue is. So it's sitting out there in space where we could just clear it up.
Probably not simple enough for you.
All right, you got your point across. Let's move on.
Any non-publics?
Yes, we do.
All right, we're gonna go into non-public.
I need to give you. Go into non-public, is it for?
I have a right to know class that I'd like a signature, please. Have the board.
Yeah, let's have the board sign it so that we know they got it.
What's the right to know for?
Not addressed to you.
Non-public.
I just need a copy back.
Are they the same? Or could you-
Yeah, they're the
Yeah,
same.
please sign them both so that mine also has the signatures. Please.
So, and I don't have a problem with this. We just got a double standard going on here. Because I asked for a written statement from Mr. Fountain that night at 10 o'clock when this was done. He said they don't need to do that.
He
I
sent
know,
it
but
to
I
you
chose
via
to do it so I could
email.
have a
I'm
signature.
asking a question here, please.
He sent it to you via email. It came directly from him.
I find that funny.
Carol didn't sign that. It's just typed on a piece of paper. How do you know Carol typed it?
Well, I'm gonna talk to my legal because I've had enough of this.
All I need is signature.
There's no double standard. You stated that Bob needed to sign it,
Thank you.
and I stated he didn't need to sign it. He emailed it. Carol didn't sign this one either.
Okay, whatever.
I make a motion that we go into non-public for.
We have legal and personnel.
For legal and personnel.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.